Ashtar Sheran reveals the final window opened over Earth. Why this last opportunity is not fear, but the cosmic signal your soul must answer before humanity forgets the door was opened in silent fire. The door did not open in the sky first. It opened in the part of you that could no longer continue pretending that your life was only routine, only survival, only another day to endure. I am Ashtar Sheran, and I speak now with the clarity of command, but not with the violence of fear. What has opened over Earth is not a punishment. It is not a threat. It is not a spectacle designed to terrify the human heart into obedience. It is a window of opportunity, and a window does not force anyone to enter. It reveals that the wall was never final. This is why so many will miss it. They expected thunder. They expected the heavens to tear open. They expected an announcement so undeniable that no decision would be required. But the greatest spiritual openings do not always arrive with noise. Sometimes they arrive as a pressure in the chest that makes you stop. Sometimes they arrive as a strange urgency with no object, as if something inside you knows there is something to do, but the mind cannot name it yet. Sometimes they arrive as exhaustion in places you once tolerated easily, because your field has become too sensitive to continue absorbing the same disorder without consequence. Do not turn this into fear. Do not turn this into fantasy. And do not reduce it to a beautiful thought. I am speaking of a practical urgency, the kind of urgency that belongs to someone who sees a door open and knows that someone who needs that door still does not know it is there. That person may be you. The opportunity is not asking for your perfection. It is not asking you to become a saint, a master, a mystic, or a being without wounds. It is not asking you to understand every layer of frequency, lineage, planetary grids, cosmic timing, or galactic intelligence before you respond. It is asking for something more difficult because it is simple. It is asking you to stop. It is asking you to place your hands over your heart. It is asking you to speak truth without decoration. It is asking you to breathe 3 times like a human being who finally decided to be present inside his own body. And that is why many will resist. The human being often prefers a prophecy to a pause. A prophecy can be watched from a distance. A pause exposes the soul. A prophecy can be discussed, doubted, shared, debated, exaggerated. A pause cannot be faked for long. When the body becomes still and the hands return to the heart, the excuses lose their theater. This window has opened to reveal what remains when the noise stops. It reveals what you are still carrying that was never yours. It reveals what you keep postponing because you are waiting for a sign more dramatic than your own inner knowing. It reveals the false comfort of delay. And it reveals the one truth many have avoided. The soul does not need more information to begin returning to itself. It needs permission to stop abandoning what it already knows. I do not come to promise you miracles. I do not come to guarantee physical healing, money, rescue, contact, ascension, or escape from Earth. I come to tell you something more serious. There are windows in the planetary field where the human soul can align faster than usual, not because an outside force does everything for you, but because the resistance inside you becomes easier to see, easier to release, easier to stop obeying. This is one of those windows. And if you feel something in you becoming quiet as I speak, understand this. The signal has already touched you. Now the question is no longer whether the door exists. The question is whether you will cross it while it is still open, or whether you will spend the rest of the cycle waiting for a louder sign because you were afraid to obey the quiet one. The door that opened without making the world stop. Humanity has been trained to believe that the sacred must interrupt the world in order to be real. You were taught, directly or indirectly, that if something truly important were happening, everyone would see it. The streets would change. The news would speak. The sky would announce it. The doubters would fall silent. The skeptics would be forced to kneel before undeniable proof. But the deepest doors do not open that way. They open through availability. They open through timing. They open through a strange inner pause that appears in the middle of ordinary life and says, without raising its voice, "Now." That word is often unbearable to the human personality, not because it is complicated, because it removes the protection of later. Later is the favorite hiding place of the unready self. Later, I will listen. Later, I will rest. Later, I will forgive. Later, I will stop carrying what does not belong to me. Later, I will change the pattern. Later, I will answer the call. Later, I will return to my soul. But there are cycles when later becomes a spiritual anesthetic. It does not destroy the person immediately. It simply teaches the person to survive farther and farther away from truth. This is why the window that opened is serious. It does not need to destroy your life to change it. It does not need to frighten you to matter. It does not need to be visible to everyone to be real inside those who can feel it. When I say the door opened, I am not speaking of a door made of metal, light, or fantasy. I am speaking of a condition in the field where the soul can respond with less friction. A moment when the inner resistance becomes easier to recognize. A moment when the body, the word, and the intention can be aligned with unusual clarity. That is the opportunity, not escape. Alignment, not spectacle. Return, not fear. Responsibility. The world will not stop for this door. The world almost never stops for what truly matters. People will keep buying, arguing, scrolling, performing, rushing, proving, distracting themselves from their own exhaustion. The noise will continue. The obligations will continue. The messages will continue. The outer structure may look exactly the same, but inside the one who responds, something shifts. Not always as lightning. Sometimes as relief. Sometimes as stillness. Sometimes as the first honest breath after years of holding the body in silent defense. Do not underestimate that. A human being who returns to presence becomes difficult to manipulate. A human being who listens to the body before collapse becomes harder to control through urgency. A human being who stops carrying inherited pain unconsciously becomes the beginning of a different future for the entire lineage. That is why this door matters. It is small in form. It is vast in consequence. And I must tell you this clearly. Feeling the door is not the same as crossing it. Many will feel something and do nothing. Many will say, "Yes, this is true," and then return to the same noise. Many will feel pressure in the chest, a call to pause, an invisible invitation, and then bury it under another video, another conversation, another complaint, another hour of distraction. They will not be punished, but they will remain unaligned with the opportunity that came close enough to be received. This is not judgment. It is mechanics. A door does not condemn the one who does not cross. It simply leads elsewhere only for the one who does. The body felt the signal before the mind understood it. The body is not inferior to the spirit. The body is the first altar of incarnation. It receives what the mind denies. It stores what the voice did not say. It trembles under the weight of inherited loyalties. It tightens when the soul is about to betray itself again. It becomes tired when the field absorbs too much. It asks for silence when the personality still thinks another task will solve the unrest. This is why I begin with the body. Many of you have been feeling something that you tried to explain away. A pressure in the center of the chest. A sensation between the shoulder blades, as if something behind you were asking to open. A sudden need for quiet. An urgency with no clear object. A deeper fatigue after being around too much noise, too many people, too many emotional currents moving at once. You may have asked yourself, "What is wrong with me?" I will answer with precision. First, if your body gives you a serious warning, care for it responsibly. Do not use spiritual language to avoid human care. Pain, breathlessness, panic, severe exhaustion, or symptoms that concern you must be honored with practical attention. Mature spirituality does not reject the body's medical needs. But beyond that responsible care, there is another layer many of you recognize. The layer where the body is not breaking. It is receiving. The pressure is not always a threat. Sometimes it is the field finding a center it has not used consciously in a long time. The urgency is not always anxiety. Sometimes it is the soul pressing against the delay of the personality. The fatigue is not always weakness. Sometimes it is sensitivity without boundaries, perception without integration, reception without silence. You were not designed to absorb the whole world without pause. You were not designed to be available to every noise, every demand, every emotional storm, every digital fragment, every fear passing through the collective field. You are not more spiritual because you are constantly drained. A lamp that never protects its flame does not become more holy. It becomes extinguished. This is where many sensitive humans misunderstand their own nature. They believe compassion means absorbing. They believe service means never closing. They believe love means having no boundary. They believe being awake means being exposed to everything. No. A receiver without discernment becomes overloaded. A heart without center becomes a hallway for other people's storms. A soul that says yes to every field eventually loses the strength to answer its true call. This window is not only opening to recharge you, it is opening to teach you how to stop leaking. That is a different kind of grace. Not the grace that gives you more energy so you can continue living the same way. The grace that reveals where your energy was being spent without truth. Look carefully. Where do you leave your presence every day? In conversations that reduce you. In guilt that is called loyalty. In routines that keep the body functional but the soul absent. In spaces where you pretend to be fine because honesty would disturb the fragile peace of others? In endless noise because silence might reveal the decision you have avoided? This window speaks through the body because the body cannot maintain spiritual lies forever. The chest asks for center. The back asks you to stop carrying invisible weight. The fatigue asks for boundaries. The urgency asks for channel. And the channel begins when you stop treating your inner signal as an inconvenience. The network of Earth is not sleeping. Earth is not only a physical planet. It is a living network of memory, pressure, grief, prayer, decision, and response. Every territory carries impressions. Every family carries currents. Every collective wound leaves patterns in the field. Every sincere act of courage changes the quality of what surrounds it. Every human being who becomes more coherent stops feeding a portion of the planetary disorder. That is why your personal alignment is not as private as you think. This does not mean that you must carry the world. It means that you affect the world more than you were taught. A human being who stops repeating inherited violence changes more than one life. A mother who stops turning exhaustion into identity changes the emotional atmosphere of a home. A father who finally allows tenderness to survive in his voice interrupts generations of hardness. A son who refuses to become the same wound that raised him opens a different path for those who come after. A daughter who stops mistaking sacrifice for love frees the lineage from a silent contract. These are not small events. The news does not report them. The world does not applaud them. But the network registers them. You think only visible actions matter because visible systems trained you to measure impact through applause, money, recognition, and scale. But the subtle architecture of humanity is built through repeated inner choices. When one person becomes less reactive, the room changes. When one person becomes honest, the family field trembles. When one person rests without guilt, an ancient commandment of suffering loses power. When one person places hands on the heart and says, "I release what is not mine," the words do not end at the skin. They enter the network of relationship. They enter memory. They enter the pattern. This is why I do not speak to you as an isolated seeker. I speak to you as a node, not a superior being, not an elected identity, a node, a point of reception, processing, and redistribution. If you receive chaos and process nothing, you redistribute chaos. If you receive fear and add panic, you redistribute panic. If you receive pain and make it identity, you redistribute pain. But if you receive pressure and process it through presence, something changes. You do not need to preach. You do not need to declare. You do not need to convince. Your field becomes less contagious with disorder. That alone is service. Many want a mission that feels grand because they have not understood the grandeur of becoming clean in the way they respond. They want to be told they are chosen, but they have not yet chosen to stop lying to themselves. They want cosmic assignment, but they have not completed the human assignment of no longer betraying their center in small daily decisions. This window does not flatter the soul. It activates responsibility. And responsibility, when understood correctly, does not crush you. It dignifies you. It says, your presence matters. It says, your silence matters. It says, your healing does not belong only to you. It says, the way you stop repeating pain becomes a form of planetary work. The Earth Network is not sleeping. It is waiting for enough humans to stop performing spirituality and begin embodying coherence. The last opportunity is not about time, but readiness. When humans hear last opportunity, they often hear fear. They imagine punishment. They imagine exclusion. They imagine a cosmic door being slammed shut by a force without mercy. That is not what I mean. The last opportunity is not the last chance to be loved. Love does not expire. It is not the last chance to be forgiven. Forgiveness is not governed by panic. It is not the last chance to be human. Your humanity is not a mistake. It is the last opportunity to continue pretending you did not know. That is different. There comes a moment when the soul has received enough signs to become responsible for its response. Before that moment, confusion may be real. After that moment, confusion can become protection for avoidance. You know this. There are truths you did not understand before. But now you do. There are patterns you could not see before. But now you see them. There are burdens you thought were yours. But now you suspect they were inherited. There are relationships you called safe only because they were familiar. There are habits you called normal only because everyone around you was tired too. There are spiritual delays you called preparation, when in truth they were fear wearing sacred clothing. This window does not shame you for any of that. It simply says, now you see. And once you see, the next step matters. This is why readiness is not the same as comfort. Many of you are waiting to feel calm before you act, but the first act of alignment often happens while the nervous system is still learning safety. Many are waiting to understand everything before they begin, but the door does not require total understanding. It requires honest participation. You do not have to know everything you are releasing. You do not have to understand every ancestral layer. You do not have to know the full shape of your mission. You do not have to define the next decade. You only have to become truthful in this moment. That is how readiness begins. Not with confidence, with honesty. The human ego says, give me certainty, then I will move. The soul says, let me move, and clarity will begin. This window favors the soul. It favors the one who is willing to take a simple step without turning it into a performance. 10 minutes. Silence. Hands on the heart. A decree spoken with integrity. 3 breaths. Then a life lived with less betrayal of that moment. Do you understand? The practice is not the whole transformation. The practice is the crossing point. What comes after reveals whether you truly crossed. If you place your hands on your heart but continue to speak against yourself, you did not honor the window. If you decree release but return immediately to carrying everyone else's emotional weight, you did not honor the window. If you breathe 3 times but continue feeding the same noise that empties you, you did not honor the window. Do not make this harsh. Make it real. The opportunity is merciful because it is simple, but it is serious because it asks to be embodied. The pain that did not begin with you. There are sorrows inside human beings that are older than their personal memories. A fear that does not match the present. A distrust that appears before anyone has betrayed you. A guilt that rises whenever you choose yourself. a sadness that visits without a clear event, a tiredness that feels ancient, as if the body were carrying the unfinished breath of people who came before you. This is not imagination. Families transmit more than names. They transmit emotional weather. They transmit survival strategies. They transmit beliefs about love, money, safety, rest, silence, authority, tenderness, God, the body, and worth. A child does not only inherit stories. A child inherits the nervous system of the house. The child learns what cannot be said, who must not be questioned, what emotions are dangerous, what dreams are unrealistic, what kind of love must be earned, what kind of pain must be hidden. Then the child grows and calls those patterns personality. I am just like this. I have always been this way. I cannot trust. I must carry everyone. If I rest, I am failing. If I say no, I am cruel. If I choose peace, I am abandoning my people. Listen to me. Not every voice inside you is your soul. Some voices are inherited fear speaking with the authority of family. Some voices are old grief wearing your face. Some voices are unfinished survival programs looking for a new generation to continue through. The opportunity before you includes the possibility of interruption. That word is important. Interruption. You may not erase every wound in one moment. Do not chase false promises. But you can interrupt the unconscious agreement to continue it. You can say, I see this fear, but I will not build my life from it. You can say, I honor my ancestors, but I will not repeat their chains. You can say, I love my family, but I will not call inherited pain destiny. You can say, I was taught to carry, but I now choose to discern. This is one of the deepest reasons the window opened. Because many of you standing on Earth now are not merely living individual stories. You are standing at the edge of lineage patterns that have traveled too far. The pain is tired. The pattern is tired. The sacrifice is tired. The silence is tired. The child inside you is tired of protecting adults who are no longer here. And the future is waiting to receive something different. This is not about blaming those who came before. Many did what they could with the consciousness, tools, fear, poverty, pressure, religion, culture, trauma, and limitations they had. Some survived in the only way they knew. Some hardened because tenderness was unsafe. Some controlled because chaos had once destroyed them. Some remained silent because speaking had consequences. Honor them by telling the truth, not by repeating the wound. This is maturity. To love the root without worshiping the disease that entered the root. To carry the blessing forward and stop carrying the poison. To remember that a lineage is not healed by denial. It is healed when one person becomes honest enough to stop pretending the pattern is normal. This window invites that person to step forward. Quietly, privately, without applause, with both hands on the heart. The human heart is the real command center. You expected the command center to be above you, in a ship, in a council, in a hidden chamber of cosmic authority. But the first command center you must recover is in the chest. This is why the practice begins there. The heart is not merely a symbol of emotion. It is a center of orientation. When the human being lives disconnected from it, intelligence becomes strategy without wisdom. Spirituality becomes language without embodiment. Service becomes exhaustion disguised as virtue. Discipline becomes punishment. Love becomes obligation. Faith becomes fear of being rejected by the divine. The heart restores proportion. It does not make you weak. It makes you accurate. From the heart, you can say no without hatred. You can rest without guilt. You can serve without disappearing. You can forgive without allowing harm to continue. You can receive without becoming greedy. You can release without becoming cold. This is why placing your hands on the heart matters. Not because the gesture is magical by itself, because it returns authority to the place where your life stopped listening. Many of you live from the head because the heart once hurt too much. You analyze everything. You predict everything. You prepare for betrayal before love has even spoken. You over-explain your boundaries because you do not yet believe you are allowed to have them. You confuse thinking with safety. But there are doors the mind cannot open because the mind was built to protect the old structure. The heart knows when the old structure has become a prison. When you put your hands there, you are not escaping reason. You are inviting reason to kneel before truth. This is a sacred correction, not anti-human, deeply human. The human heart is where cosmic contact becomes ethical. Without the heart, contact becomes curiosity. Without the heart, awakening becomes superiority. Without the heart, spiritual power becomes another form of control. That is why I will not tell you to chase phenomena. I will not tell you to wait for lights, voices, visions, or undeniable proof. I tell you to return to the center that can receive without becoming distorted, because the next phase of humanity will not be stabilized by those who have the most information. It will be stabilized by those who can hold presence without turning it into ego. This window measures nothing publicly. It does not ask how much you know. It asks where you live inside yourself. And if you discover that you have been living outside your center, do not collapse into shame. Return. The heart was not closed to punish you. It was waiting for your honest attention. Put your hands there, not as performance, as command. Not command over others, command over your own scattered life. The decree that separates burden from mission. Words spoken without presence are noise. Words spoken from the center can become alignment. The decree I give you is not an incantation that guarantees an external result. It is not a contract of superstition. It is not a phrase to repeat mechanically while the mind remains absent. It is a line of separation. It separates reception from resistance. It separates burden from mission. It separates inherited pain from chosen responsibility. Speak it slowly. I accept the recharge my soul can sustain. I release what is not mine to carry. I confirm my presence in this phase of earth. Do not rush these words. The first line is not greed. I accept the recharge my soul can sustain. You are not demanding power. You are not forcing the invisible. You are not claiming more than your system can integrate. You are allowing what is appropriate, what is coherent, what your soul can hold without distortion. That matters. Many humans want intensity because they confuse intensity with truth. But the soul does not need to be overwhelmed in order to be transformed. It needs to receive what can become life, not what becomes spiritual intoxication. The second line is not rejection of love. I release what is not mine to carry. This is where many will tremble, because much of what you carry has been praised. You were called good because you absorbed. You were called strong because you did not ask for help. You were called loyal because you stayed available to what drained you. You were called spiritual because you forgave without boundaries. But not all praise is truth. Some praise is given by systems that benefit from your exhaustion. When you release what is not yours, some people may not understand. That does not make the release wrong. It means the old arrangement depended on your unconscious agreement. The third line is not arrogance. I confirm my presence in this phase of Earth. You are not declaring yourself above others. You are declaring that you will not sleepwalk through the moment that is asking you to become conscious. Presence is not a title. It is participation. It says, I am here, not half here. Not only when life is easy. Not only when I receive signs. Not only when someone validates me. I am here in the body, on earth, in this time, with this breath, willing to become more truthful than I was yesterday. That is enough to begin. After the decree, breathe 3 times. The first breath receives. The second releases. The third confirms. Then stay quiet. This quiet is not empty. It is integration. Do not check immediately whether something happened. That is the mind trying to turn the sacred into measurement. Do not demand sensation. Do not perform emotion. Do not judge yourself if you feel nothing dramatic. The deepest movements often begin without spectacle. A root does not make noise when it enters the soil, but the tree depends on it. What changes after you cross the window? If you cross this window honestly, do not expect your life to become instantly perfect. Expect your dishonesty to become harder to tolerate. That is often the first sign of real alignment. You may notice that certain conversations feel heavier because you can no longer abandon yourself inside them. You may notice that a routine you once called normal now feels like slow disappearance. You may notice that your body asks for cleaner spaces, quieter mornings, simpler choices, more direct words, fewer emotional debts. You may notice that guilt rises when you set a boundary, but beneath the guilt there is peace. You may notice that you do not want to explain yourself as much. You may notice that the old urgency begins to transform into direction. This is important. The window does not do your life for you. It gives you enough alignment to stop pretending you do not know what your life is asking. Then the human work begins. You may have to apologize. You may have to stop promising what you cannot give. You may have to leave a pattern before you understand who you are without it. You may have to sleep. You may have to drink water. You may have to stop confusing stimulation with purpose. You may have to stop calling exhaustion your destiny. The real sign is not fireworks. The real sign is coherence. A calmer response. A cleaner no. A more honest yes. A decision made without needing applause. A body that no longer has to scream before you listen. A heart that becomes less afraid of its own authority. This is why I say the opportunity is last in a very specific way. It may be the last time you can comfortably pretend that you did not know the door was open. After this, if you return to the same abandonment, something in you will remember. Not to punish you, to call you again. But the call may feel heavier if you keep refusing what was once offered with simplicity. Do not make the soul shout. It should not have to. The soul begins with a whisper because it respects your freedom. When the whisper is ignored for years, life becomes louder. Not because spirit becomes cruel, but because denial becomes expensive. Receive the whisper now. Return while return is simple. Pause before collapse forces the pause. Rest before exhaustion becomes identity. Tell the truth before silence becomes a prison. Release before the burden becomes your name. This is not fear. This is mercy with a firm voice. The door did not open in the sky first. Now you understand why. If it had opened only above you, you might have looked upward and still avoided yourself. You might have searched for ships, signs, movements, dates, confirmations, arguments, and proof. You might have watched the heavens while your own heart remained unattended. So the door opened where you could not escape the real test. Inside. In the chest. In the breath. In the moment when the hands return to the body and the soul can no longer be treated like a distant idea. I am Ashtar Sheran, and I will not leave you with fear. I leave you with instruction. Do not wait for a more dramatic sign to obey a simple truth. Do not call yourself unprepared when the next step is only presence. Do not disrespect the window because it arrived quietly. The false self needs drama to believe something matters. The soul recognizes timing, and this timing is clear. Stop. Place your hands over your heart. Speak the decree. Breathe 3 times. Then live in a way that does not betray what you just confirmed. If you release what is not yours, do not pick it back up because someone else feels uncomfortable. If you accept what your soul can sustain, do not waste it immediately in noise. If you confirm your presence in this phase of Earth, do not return to sleepwalking through the days as if your life were only obligation. This window is not here to make you less human. It is here to return you to the human being you were before fear taught you to fragment yourself. The human who can feel without drowning. The human who can serve without disappearing. The human who can love without becoming a prisoner. The human who can rest without shame. The human who can carry responsibility without carrying what belongs to others. The human who can stand on Earth without waiting to be rescued from Earth. That is the deeper revelation. The window did not open to take you away. It opened to bring you back. Back to the body. Back to discernment. Back to the quiet courage of one honest breath. Back to the sacred authority of a heart that no longer asks permission to be real. When this opportunity passes, do not measure it by what appeared in the sky. Measure it by what changed in your response. Did you stop? Did you breathe? Did you release? Did you return? Did you treat your own soul as something worthy of attention before the world gave you permission? That is where the record is made. Not in noise, in coherence, not in spectacle, in presence, not in fear. In the silent fire of a human being who finally stops waiting for the universe to shout and answers the door while it is still open.